Hello, and welcome to this video. I don't know how long it's going to be. It could be a long one, but this is kind of my celebration of the 50th anniversary of this album, The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway by Genesis. So what we're going to do, I've threatened this for many years, is I'm going to kind of look at the meaning of the album, look at the lyrics. So yeah, pin your luggos back. You might want to, I don't know, listen to this on your headphones rather than looking at my face for how many hours this is going to take. I'm hoping it's not going to take hours. I'm hoping it's going to be pretty quick, but you never can be sure. Anyway, the album was released. Oh, depends on whereabouts you come from, but sometime between the 18th and 22nd of November 1974. And it's an interesting album. I first came about it when I was a teenager. I got it on cassette. There was no lyrics in the cassette, there was no story in the cassette, and it fascinated me. And I listened to it solidly every day for about 6 months. It was a puzzle. I had no idea what this album was. What is the album? The album is a concept album by the band Genesis, and it's very much a reaction to the previous album. The previous album, Selling England by the Pound, is very much a British album. It's in the title, England. It's all things English. It paints pictures of a time and a place and of a band in a time and a place, very much in England. And this is a reaction against that. Again, resetting Genesis to the streets, the mean streets of New York, to Manhattan. Quite strange. The protagonist, Rael, is a Puerto Rican teenager. Again, it's as opposite as you can get to the previous album, and this is done for a reason. Again, Gabriel wanted to break out of what they'd been doing. This was his idea of progression, moving on. It also has many themes. It's very punk in its attitude. Again, before punk was really a thing, Gabriel looked at this character and he wanted, well, an antagonist, I guess you'd call him that. He's not a good person, but this is a journey. This is a journey. This is like the Pilgrim's Progress. He will go on a journey of redemption. Redemption arc is very important in the story. First song, Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, sets the scene. It's purely a scene setter to get you used to the idea of where you are, and introduces the character. So, the lamb lies down on Broadway. Again, why the lamb? The lamb will lie with the lion. Biblical references, Christianity. You have to remember Genesis. Crikey, it's in the name. When the majority of the members went to Charterhouse, the Christian faith would have been pushed down their throats. They'd have sung hymns and gone to chapel and whatnot. And we've seen it previously in many of their other songs, Christian references. Again, some of their music, the big chords, directly lifted from hymns. So the hymnal tradition and their Christianity, but their background in Christianity is very evident here. And why does the lamb lie down on Broadway? It is, again, it's symbolic. Is there really a lamb? That's the thing. We'll never know. It's ambiguous, but it's meant to show the beginning. It's a signal of Rael's journey. He is humble. He's to be humbled. It is a Christian journey, you might say. So early morning Manhattan, that sets the scene. That's the place. Ocean winds blows on the land. You get an idea that it's the morning. The movie palace now undone. In the old days, cinemas, the movie palaces used to run 24 hours a day. People used to flow in and out. You could, if you're homeless, spend your time in the cinema, but it's undone. There's no more use for it. It's finished. Don't know. The all-night watchmen have had their fun. Again, those people, the lurkers, the people who are out and about, the night is no longer concealing them, so they are done. Sleeping cheaply on the midnight show, again, they are in the cinema, as I said, watching the movie, or not, maybe just sleeping, again, sleeping cheaply rather than getting a hotel. It's the same old ending, time to go. Again, because they've seen the film so many times, it's been repeated, they get out. So, right, is this Raoul? Has Raoul been sleeping cheaply in the cinema show? Oh dear, that's terrible. I hate when people do that. It seems they cannot leave their dream. There's something moving in the sidewalk steam. Now, this is the important part, right? It seems they cannot leave their dream. Is the whole thing a dream? Is Raoul in the cinema being influenced what's on the screen in his dream, right? There's something moving in the sidewalk steam. The lamb lies down on Broadway. There you go. So the whole thing in that couplet there, it could all be a dream. None of this could have actually happened. It could have all be happening inside Raoul's head, right? Nighttime flyers feel their pains. Again, who are the nighttime flyers? Are they the addicts looking for their next fix? Because we go into drugstore, takes down their chains again, they're opening up for the day. Metal Motion comes in burst, talking about the road traffic, but the gas station can quench that thirst for petrol, for diesel, because it's a constant movement. It's the pulse of the city. Suspension cracked on unmade roads again. That's again, it's a poetic image of the car, making a noise when it hits a pothole. It's the city noises that you hear because it's never smooth, it's bumpy. The truckers I'd read overload, been travelling all night perhaps, and out of the subway, Raoul, Imperial Aerosol Kid, exits into daylight, spray gun hid. So we know he's a graffiti artist. That couplet says that's what he's been doing. He's been down in the subway. I don't know, would they be tagging? Again, this is a new thing that Gabe was introducing, the idea of someone being into graffiti. Again, 1974, England, it would be as far away as, culturally as, country and Western music to us. It was, this is introducing a very American idea. Again, whoever's asleep in the cinema, who's dreaming, may be dreaming all of this. Raoul may not even be real. I don't know, it's open to interpretation. And the lamb lies down on Broadway. The lamb seems right out of place, of course, because why would this thing be here? It's incongruous, it's a mystery. What is it doing there? Yet the Broadway street scene finds a focus in its face, so there's an engagement there. And it being there makes everything stop. It's lying there, brings a stillness to the air. Though man-made light at night is very bright, there's no whitewash victim. Again, it's a curious couplet. What is whitewash? To whitewash something means to hide it, to cover it up. But he's talking about light as well. So can lights be so bright that things can be hidden? I don't know. As the neons dim to the coat of white. Again, I'm not really sure what he's getting at. Is it because the lights from the night are going down and being replaced by daylight? I think it could be that, meaning that transition there. Raoul, Imperial Aerosol Kid, wipes his gun, again compares the aerosol to a weapon. He's forgotten what he did. He's moved on. It doesn't mean anything. His art or his tagging is meaningless. It's just there to make a name. He's making a name for himself. That's what the kids did in those days to be successful. And the lamb lies down on Broadway. Then we switch focus to another character. Suzanne, tired, her work all done, thinks, money, honey, be on neon. Again, he's playing with words. He's playing with sounds. Suzanne, she's obviously been working all night. Is she a streetwalker? Is she maybe an exotic dancer? Her time is of the night, and she's waiting for the money to come back when the neon lights come back on. She is a creature of the night, as it were. Daytime is nothing to her. The cabman's velvet glove sounds the horn. Again, a cab A cab driver wearing a velvet glove. What does that signify? That he's making money? That he's not doing an honest day's work? He wears gloves to protect his hands? It's a strange one. And the Sawdust King spits in his scorn. Again, that's relating to building work. But why would he be scornful? We don't know. Wonder Women, draw your blind. Again, the nosy neighbour. Not Wonder Woman, as in the character. Again, Gabriel's playing with words here. He means the women who look out and wonder what's going on. You know, the interloper. Don't look at me. I'm not your kind. I'm Raoul. He's different. He's saying he's different to all of those people that come before him. He's not like those people, and he feels that something inside me has just begun. Lord knows what I have done. Again, referencing the Lord. A religious, again, maybe he has religion. He'd be, again, if he's Puerto Rican, he'd be a Catholic. Again, very different to the Protestant religion that the band would have grown up with. And the line lies down on Broadway. And then they, Gabriel references another song, the song On Broadway. With they say the lights are always bright on Broadway. And you get a lot of references to other songs and other media in this. It's the Drifters song. They say the neon lights are always bright on Broadway. They say there's always magic in the air on Broadway. But when you're walking down the street, you ain't had enough to eat. So again, that's the original song, not in the Genesis song. So is he referencing that the poverty? It's like a shorthand. He's using it as shorthand to reference what's been set up. It's what's known as exophoric referencing, when you reference to something outside of the thing that you're doing, rather than endophoric referencing is when you're referenced within the text that you're creating. So you get a lot of this. This happens a lot with these lyrics. So that sets up the scene of our protagonist being in daylight. You know, again, he's like all those other people. There is this transition from the nighttime world to the daytime world, and Raoul has been doing his thing of the nighttime because nobody, you know, sees him being a graffiti artist, you know, doing his thing, and now we're in the daytime, and we move into flying a windshield. There's something solid forming in the air as the wall of death is lowered in Times Square. Now, again, you can kind of imagine what this is like now if you think back to the footage from 9/11, when you see that big wall of smoke, you know, as the result of the Twin Towers coming down, moving through the streets of New York. You can see that image now. You know, it came true, but no one seems to care. They carry on as if nothing was there. So is it actually happening, or is it only happening to Raoul? Is it only something in his imagination that's been triggered? You know, or again, is it a dream within a dream? This is what makes this a very mysterious work, because you get the feeling that none of it is literal and it's all symbolic. Yeah. They carry on. I think it was there. The wind is blowing harder now, blowing dust into my eyes. The dust settles on my skin, making a crust of kind of moving. So ends up being in a kind of a pupa. And again, when you think of a pupa, or of animals, you know, like the caterpillar, it then bursts out into something else, into a butterfly. So this represents the first transformation of Raoul. And I'm hovering like a fly, see, waiting for the windshield on the freeway. Again, we have this this reference to cars. We've already had that previously in the previous song, and of course that's fatalistic. The windshield on the freeway, because what happens to a fly when it's a windshield? It's over. It's the end. You know, so he set himself up in a rather fatalist imagery, right? Like everything's going to come to an end, but he is, like I say, in this casket, this dust casket. And then we move to the echoes of the Broadway Everglades, the Broadway melody of 1974. There is a lot of imagery in here that, again, if you're not knowing of this stuff, it's going to lead you. You're going to go, wow, what's he talking about? So echoes of the Broadway Everglades. Now the Everglades is again, it's again interesting imagery. The Everglades is down in Florida. It's a vast tract of land that can be swampy, and so he's kind of saying that the Broadway has its own kind of ecosystem, its own wildlife. Yeah, that's probably the best way. Yeah, this is because the Everglades it's in Florida and it's flooded, and you get mangrove swamps and crocodiles and things like that. So he's kind of saying that the Broadway is a wild place. It can be a dangerous place, but it's a very interesting way of saying that. This again, Gabriel has a very interesting way of putting things. With her mythical Madonnas still walking in their shades. Again, the Madonna. Again, the Madonna is the again. I'm going to say streetwalker, and they've got their sunglasses on, so they're still again. It's a religious term, isn't it? It's a religious term, and it's a curious one to have because it's more related with excuse me. It's more related to with Jesus, So yeah, it's a bit of an unusual imagery. It's again contradictory imagery that he likes to use. Lenny Bruce declares a truce and plays his other hand. Now, Lenny Bruce was a comedian. He famously used to use swear words, was arrested a number of times. I'm not sure at this time. I think he may have already passed. When did he pass? I'm just looking this up. He died. Oh no, he died in '66. Yes, so he was age 40. He died of a drug overdose, I believe. But he was a very controversial comedian. Used to push language. Again, it was an idea that again George Carlin kind of picked that baton up with his words you can't say on it was on the television, on the radio. Lenny Bruce already did that, but he declares he gives up. He gives up and plays his other hand. That's a reference to cards, to poker. What is his other hand? We don't know. Marshall McLuhan, casual viewing, head buried in the sand. Now, Marshall McLuhan wrote a very great book called the Medium is the Message. He's a Canadian philosopher. The Medium is the Message is like I say, it's a fantastic book. I do have a copy of it. This is where I should always be prepared, but I never am. It's called The Medium is the Message, but this one's called The Medium is the Massage for some reason. But I guess but that's the book. It's a truly great book about messaging and the media and everything, and it's well worth a look because even though it was done a long time ago, over 60 years ago now, it's still relevant to this time. So yeah, Marshall McLuhan, casual viewing, head buried in the sand. Again, that's the opposite. McLuhan didn't have his head buried in the sand. Maybe he's hiding his eyes because everything he said in his book is coming true. And he certainly isn't casual viewing, but it's a reference to the media. Marshall McLuhan, casual. Again, contradictory statement there. Sirens on the rooftops wailing, but there's no ship sailing. Again, he's playing with words. Sirens. Now, there could be two kinds of siren. There's the siren that you'd hear, like police siren, but then there's the siren from mythology. And that's what he is kind of, again, he's playing with images. The sirens were half woman, half bird creatures, and they lured sailors to their deaths with their sweet songs, So was it Odysseus, Ulysses, when he was sailing, avoided them. He, tied himself to the mast and got these sailors to block their ears. But he says there's no ship sailing. So there are sirens around being tempting. You could look at it that way. There is temptation around, but there are no ships. So Groucho with his movies trailing. Groucho, that's a reference to Groucho Marx, one of the three. Well, there was four Marx brothers. Actually, there was five Marx brothers, but there was three that people tend to remember. His movies trailing. Again, that tells you that it's kind of over for him. Stands alone with his punchline failing. Again, I always find that the saddest, one of the saddest lines, because Groucho was one of the great wits of the world, and he was incredibly sharp, and I don't think his punchlines ever failed. But maybe this isn't the real world. Maybe all these are like alternate versions of. This is it. This is the idea of the contradictory. This isn't real, right? These are all contradictory persons. So Lenny Bruce declares a truce. He'd never give up. It was only his drug addiction that took him. Marshall McLuhan, buried in. No, he wouldn't do that. Groucho, failing? No. And then the Ku Klux Klan serve hot soul food. They'd never do that because they're racists. And the band plays In the Mood. Again, that's just to make the line scan, I think. But In the Mood was a song by, was it Glenn Miller? The Glenn Miller Band. And then we switch to The Cheerleader Waves Her Cyanide Wand. Again, they have a baton. But why would it be poisonous? There's a smell of peach blossom and bitter almond. Well, again, you get the smell of almonds with cyanide, I believe. Carol Chessman sniffs the air. I'm trying to remember. Carol Chessman. I'm just having a look this up. He was a criminal. That's right, and not a nice person. Kidnapper, murderer, robber. Right. Died in 1960. Sniffs the air and leads the parade. So why would you have a criminal leading the parade? But yeah, his fame was that he was the first modern American executed for a non-lethal kidnapping. But yeah. But anyway, he knows in a scent you can bottle all you've made. Now, in a scent, innocent, it's a play on words again. He's using, was it a homonym? Almost a homonym. So he's playing with the words innocent and in a scent. He wasn't innocent. He was guilty, wasn't he? You can bottle all you've made. Again, that's a reference to. He's playing with words here. There's Howard Hughes in blue suede shoes. Now, Howard Hughes was world famous millionaire. Made a big plane. Invented the cantilever bra, I believe. Yes. And leads the parade. Again, he leads the parade. Oh, sorry, no. I'm reading the wrong line there. Smiling at the majorettes, smoking Winston cigarettes. And that's a reference to the cheerleaders again, almost. Winston Cigarettes is a popular cigarette brand. Rhymes lovely with majorettes. And as the song and dance begins, the children play at home with needles and pins. Again, Needles and Pins is another song. That's by, again, there's a song by, many people have covered it. Smokey covered it in the 70s, in 1977. But it was originally done by the Searchers. Well, no, Jackie Del Shannon did it. DeShannon did it in '63. Then the Searchers did it, and I needles and pins now. That's the track. But why again? And obviously, it's a drugs reference, and it's quite a horrible image of children playing at home with needles and pins. And then we switch focus again to Raoul being in his cocoon, in his pupa, in his coffin. For there are many deaths and rebirths in this. We move on to Cocoon a cocoon. And a cuckoo is obviously a bird that is in the nest that it shouldn't be. Oh, this is great. Now they're doing drilling. Hopefully, it's silent all the times. And then the day you prepare to do a big video, the drills come out, hammering. It's all right. But yeah, a cuckoo is a bird that is left in a nest where it shouldn't be. So the idea that he shouldn't be in this cocoon, that's why it's called cocoon. It's a bit of a tongue twister too. So it starts up wrapped up in some powdered wool. Again, that's a reference to the cocoon. I guess I'm losing touch. Don't tell me I'm dying, because I ain't changed that much. Again, he's worried. He thinks that there is some sort of transformation happening. And there is a transformation between life and death. And it is a kind of death that he's going through. The only sound is water drops. I wonder where the hell I am. Some kind of jam. Cocoon, have I come too soon for you? So he's wondering if he's dying too young. There's nothing I can recognise. This is nowhere I've known. With no sign of life, I guess I'm alone. So again, isolation is a big part of this. The character is permanently isolated. That's why he is the way he is. Isolation is a common theme in Genesis lyrics. We see it in, again, Trespass album, Nursery Crime, with the musical box. It's something that the band is well versed to. Again, it appeals to the teenage audience. People will be feeling isolated and a little bit alienated. It kind of feeds into that. I feel so secure, but I know this can't be real, but I feel good. So even the real character knows that what's happening isn't real, and it's some kind of fantasy. I wonder if I'm a prisoner locked up in some Brooklyn jail. Again, he talks of his own experience there, or some kind of Jonah. Shut up inside the whale. Now, again, more Christian imagery. Jonah is the guy. He is blamed for bad luck. Oh, you're a bit of a Jonah. Again, if you're a Jonah, you're somebody who's bad luck. And he ends up being thrown off the boat and being rescued by the whale. The whale swallows him and saves him. That's the old biblical story of Jonah and the whale. I've simplified it, but there you go. So that's how he feels. He feels like he's safe. Maybe he's going to be delivered. But no, I'm still real, and I'm stuck in some kind of cave. What could have saved me? Again, from the wall of death that was coming towards him. What saved him? What was the divine intervention? Again, wall of death also is a reference to the old sideshow exhibit, the round circular exhibit where the motorcyclist rolls around, drives around and uses centrifugal force to move up and down the inside of the wall of death. And then we move to in the cage. There's sunshine in my stomach. Again, a nice feeling. He's feeling kind of mellow. We've all had that feeling, when you're feeling contentment. It's a nice image. Like I just rocked my baby to sleep. Is Ray a father? Or is he imagining he's a father again? Who is he? Is this Gabriel pushing himself into the song? There's sunshine in my stomach, and I can't keep me from creeping sleep. Sleep's deep in the deep. Again, when you're trying not to fall asleep, the sleep that you end up submitting to is deepest. I don't know if you've ever felt that. You've felt yourself nod off, and you might nod off just for a moment, and that sleep that you go into is a deeper sense of self. It's deep, isn't it? And then rock face moves to press my skin, white liquids turn sour within. This is the idea that he's being compressed. Again, we have that image, of things being turned into oil, like the dinosaurs. White liquids turn sour within. Again, that would be milk, because milk turns sour, but we don't have milk, but we do. What's the white liquid that's inside us? Semen. I don't really want to say it, but it's the only white liquid I can think of. Turn fast, turn sour, turn sweat, turn sour. Again, I'm not really sure. That's just I think it's more of a feeling of nausea. I think he's trying to get across there, because that's what I get from that. There's a sense of nausea. I must tell myself that I'm not here. I'm drowning in a liquid fear. Right? And sometimes with a panic attack, it can feel like you're drowning. It can feel like it's the end of the world. Maybe he's having a panic attack here because of, everything closing in on him. Bottled in in a strong compression, my distortion shows obsession. Again, I think that line is just because it just sounds nice. It's got a nice rhythm to it. Compression, obsession, looking for a rhyme. Compression relates to how he's feeling, how everything's closing in on him. And he's in the cave. Get me out of this cave. If I keep self-control, I'll be safe in my soul. So you've got to hold it together and then be calm. And the child of belief brings a moment's relief. So again, is it a child of belief if just to be calm, just to hold yourself in? I'm sure that's more of an adult. If you were a child, you'd be more like to freak out. Again, it's a contradictory thing. Gabriel likes doing that. But my cynic soon returns. So he's like, yeah, I think I'm doomed. And the lifeboat burns. Again, that is not literal. That's just that's just imagery there. And my spirit never learns. There's a lot of that of Raoul going, oh, I hope things are going to be fine. Oh, they're not. That happens a lot on this album. Stalactites, stalagmites, again, the rock formations in a cave, calcified rock formations. Stalagmites go up, stalactites come down, because tights always come down. That's how I remember that one. Shut me in, lock me tight. So again, he's trapped, feeling trapped. He feels trapped by society. He feels trapped in this dream, this nightmare. Lips are dry, throat is dry. I know the feeling. Feel like burning, stomach churning. Again, feeling nausea. I'm dressed up in a white costume. What kind of white costume? Again, we've had the Ku Klux Klan on. They used to wear white, but I don't think it's that. Padding out, leftover room. But he's constricted. He's talking about straitjacket. Because that comes on further later on in the song. Again, Gabriel's laying the groundwork there to the straitjacket imagery. A straitjacket is one of those items of clothing that they used to use to restrain the insane, and the arms go around the back, and you're tied up and you can't move. Body stretching, feel the retching in the cage again. So he's feeling not very well. In the glare of the light, I see a strange kind of sight. So the lights come on, and of cages joined to form a star. So if you can imagine all the cages, there are like, I don't know, 4 cages, and they're connected, and it forms a little star formation. Got to use your imagination for that. And each person can't go very far. So he's not alone. He thinks he's alone in the cage, but he isn't. There are other people here with him, all tied to their things. They're knitted by their strings, free to flutter in memories of their wasted wings. All tied to their things. Now, it's ambiguous. You tied to your things. Is this a comment on consumerism? Are we tied to the things that we own? Is it a more weird things? Maybe they're things. Genitals. Something's been tied to their genitals, because genitals do I know, bear with me, genitals do feature later on the album a couple of times. So maybe Gabriel's going there. And they're netted by their strings, so they can't move. So they're tied to their genital area, we say. Free to float in memory of wasted wings. So again, that's again imagery relating to freedom. These aren't butterfly people. It's just an illusion of freedom. But outside the cage, I see my brother John. Brother John, again, almost sounds like he's a monk. Again, he's Rael, he's a Puerto Rican. John, not a very Puerto Rican name, you know. Brother John, he sounds like a Christian monk, but he is a sign of salvation. So he has almost, again, it's a religious imagery, you know, and Rael sees John as his salvation. He turns his head and so slowly round. So he acknowledges it, or at least turns in his direction. I can't help before he can be gone. And he looks at me without a sound. And I shout out, John, please help me. But he doesn't even want to try and speak. Again, this is a theme that runs through the album of John being there, but just denying him. Acknowledging him, but not acknowledging him. You know, seeing him, but not seeing him. And this feeds into that sense of isolation and helplessness. But he does not. I shout at John, please help me. He doesn't know what I'm trying to speak. I'm helpless with my violent rage. Again, a lot of anger in this character. And a silent tear of blood dribbles down his cheek. What does that mean? I mean, again, blood is religious. Usually when, you have tears of blood, that's a religious image. It's a Christian image. You know, is he sad for his brother? You know, is that him acknowledging that, hey, you're in a place that I can't help you. You've got to find your own way out. I watch him turn away and leave the cage. My Little Runaway. Again, Runaway is a song, an old 50s song by, oh God, who did it? Who did the bit? There are many different. God, who did it? Wasn't Del Shannon? Was it Del Shannon? Yeah. See, I knew he was in. I knew Del Shannon was in there somewhere. It's your little runaway, ding 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 ding. It's like kind of surf hit from the 60s, I think. Then we go back in a trap, feel the strap, holding still, pinned for kill. Again, he feels like he's in a fatal, position. He can't get out of it. Chances now that I make it again. It's not looking good for him. In the cushion straitjacket again, we get that mention of the straitjacket, just like 22nd Street. Now, this is a line that's always bothered me. What is 22nd Street? What does that mean? Is there a 22nd Street in New York? I can't find one. There was a 22nd Street in San Francisco when you put it into Wikipedia. What the reference to 22nd Street is, again, it could just be because it sounds good. I'd need to be an American, somebody living in New York, to really get the relevance of that. When they got me by neck and feet, again, he feels like he's being stretched. Pressure's building, can't take more. My headaches charge, my earaches raw in the pain. Get me out of this pain. Again, he's under extreme physical stress. And then he thinks, if I could change to liquid, if he could change himself, again, this is important, the idea of change. I could feel the cracks up in the rock. He could just escape. He could just dribble out. But I know I'm solid and I'm my own bad luck. Again, that cynical side of himself kicks in. He thinks, no, I'm doomed. But outside, John disappears. And all of a sudden, the cage dissolves. Right? And without any reason, my body revolves. And he just starts spinning for no other reason. Again, is it part of this transformative process? And that leads us on to our next section. And that leads us into the grand parade of lifeless packaging. If you read the story that comes in the liner notes, Rael enters like a shop floor where they're making human beings or facsimiles of humans. They are copies of people that he knows. I think he even sees a copy of his brother, but they're not functioning. It's a comment on the idea of free will. The last great adventure left to mankind, screams a drooping lady, offering her dream dolls at less than extortionate prices. Now, dream dolls. Now, you say this now again in the modern age. You can buy life-size, mannequins for your pleasure. And now that reminds me of that. It reminds me of these men that invest in these sex dolls. Just again, I don't know if that was the meaning at the time, but it always reminds me of that. And as the notes and coins are taken out, I'm taken into the factory floor. So people are paying for these dream dolls for the purposes of which we know not. And he goes to see the grand parade of lifeless packaging all ready to use. They just need a fuse. So they're non-functioning. But with a fuse, maybe they come to life, we do not know. Got people stocked in every shade. Must be doing well with trade. Again, anyone you can think of is copied here. Stamped, addressed in odd fatality that evens out their personality. Have they got a personality? That's the thing, because they're not functioning. With profit potential marked by a sign, I can recognise some of the production line. So you can recognise some of the people here. No bite at all in labour bondage. Again, are they meant to be slaves? Again, is it a comment on, like, how we're slaves to the system? Just wrinkled wrappers or human bandage? Again, they're not real. They're not, they're loose and slack because they don't have the vivacity of actual human life yet. But yeah, I find it a very curious image, but it's the Grand Parade. It repeats itself. The hall runs like clockwork, the hands marking out the time. Again, that's clock hands marking the time. Emptying their fullness like a frozen pantomime. Again, they're empty, but they have a realism to them. But they're lacking that human spark. A pantomime, again, something if you're not from the UK, a pantomime is a seasonal play which is larger than life, usually based around like Brothers Grimm stories, staged, affectionately known as panto. Like I say, it's larger than life, but in this instance, it's frozen. So again, it's not moving. There are no moving parts. Everyone's a sales representative wearing slogans in their shrine. So everyone there is just trying to, they're trying to sell. Again, it's a comment on commercialism, capitalism. Maybe we are all to be sold and bought and sold. Again, in the modern day, it could be a comment on data trading, because we are all a commodity now, aren't we? Again, but that's not the meaning at the time. But this is the great thing about lyrics, is even with time, they can be reinterpreted and have a different meaning attached to them. Dishing out fail-safe superlatives. So again, this is great. This is wonderful. This can't go wrong. Brother John is number 9. What is the significance of the number 9? I don't know. I'm not a numerologist, but Brother John is in there. The deck on the ceiling has planned out their future day. So when he looks up, he sees that every, now it can be interpreted two ways. It can be interpreted that the people making the dolls have their instructions on the ceiling, but it could be that, and the next line says, I see no sign of free will. So it's all been set out in the stars what's going to happen. It's all been preordained, pre-planned. So I guess I have to pay my way. And yeah, so there's many different images there, and it like I say, it could be a comment on commercialism, on the fact that we're all part of this system. It could be a comment on the idea of free will. I don't know, but Gabriel is throwing everything at it. And then we go into the next track. Again, we would have turned over the album. I think this turned over the side for Back in New York City. Now, this song, I think, is the heart of the album. This tells you a lot about the character, a lot of what about Gabriel was trying to get across, and how he was trying to push the band in a very different direction. It's a punk song, It's a punk song by any other name. This is rebelling. This is the band, or Gabriel, rebelling against the system. Yeah, this is punk before punk. I see faces and traces of home back in New York City. So again, that could be a reference to what he's seen in the lifeless packaging, you know, all the different faces. And then he speaks directly to us. You think I'm a tough kid? Is that what you heard? You know. Again, we all have reputations, and his reputation is that he's a hard fella. You know. Well, I like to see some action, and it gets into my blood because he's young. You know, it's that thing going looking for trouble. Look, they call me the trailblazer. Rail Electric Razor. Now, Electric Razor comes in later in the song. That's important. Again, a trailblazer is somebody who has very little disregard, who just keeps pushing forward. I'm the pitcher in a chain gang. We don't believe in pain. Now, the chain gang, again, that goes back to the old days of being a criminal. If you were in the chain gang, you know, breaking rocks into little rocks. So yeah, I've just done some reading up on that. The picture in a chain gang, it's not about a chain gang. Yeah. It relates to the St. Louis Cardinals, which is a baseball team. They had what was known as the chain gang, or the Cardinals farm system. Yeah. Where they controlled 11 teams over 270 players. Now, why would Gabriel know that? How would Gabriel know that? It's one of those real deep cuts. But it could also relate to, that's the beautiful thing, it's because it's got a double meaning. You can imagine Rail being on a chain gang because he's a you know, a petty criminal. He's been inside. But again, the picture is somebody who throws. It's an odd image. It's always tripped me up, that image. You know, I didn't think it was like about a chain gang. The picture line always made me think it was meant something else. Now I've looked it up. After all these years, I know what it means. We're only as strong as the weakest link in the chain. Again, it's very important. You know, when you're working together, and again, teamwork, it's relating to teamwork. That's common sense, you know. Let me out of Pontiac when I was just 17. Pontiac was the name of an institution, I believe. I mean, there was a mental institution called Pontiac. But in the liner notes, it's meant to be like a Borstal. A Borstal is like a young person's institution. Again, who knows if Gabriel done his research. But when he was just 17, I had to get it out of me, if you know what I mean. But I like the idea that it could be relating to mental illness, because if this is all a fantasy, and again, straitjacket, mental illness, yeah. You say I must be crazy. See, Pontiac, mental institution, because I don't care who I hit. Again, this character is portrayed as someone who's very reactionary, who's striking out. He's striking out at the world, and it's again goes back to that kind of that punk ethos that we'd like to see unfold in the UK. But I know it's me that's hitting out, and I'm not full of shit. Again, he's real. He's rail. I don't care who I hurt. I don't care who I do wrong. This is your mess I'm stuck in. I really don't belong. Now then, that's sociopathic line, you know. But again, that thing where everything else is, it's also a sign of immaturity. When you blame everyone else for your failings and you don't own your mistakes, this is it. But again, that can come out of two places. It can be, you know, psychopathy. You know, you actually are antisocial. Or it can be that you're just immature and you haven't grown up. And again, as soon as this is about a journey of discovery and transformation, I think it's more about that. When I take out my bottle filled up high with gasoline, you can tell by the night fires where Rail has been. He is He is somebody he sets fire. He sets fire to things, not in a good way. But then it replaces the line "has been." So he's a has been. Even he knows he's a has been. So has been, where he's been, has been. He's a has been. He's washed up. He knows that this is a futile gesture of somebody who's got nothing to offer. And then we get into this surreal imagery of, as I cuddled the porcupine, he said I had none to blame but me. Again, he's trying to get round to realise that this is your fault. Don't blame everyone else. You got to grow up. Held my heart deep in hair. Time to shave it off. Again, so he has a hairy heart. Again, this is the idea that he's soft and fluffy. That he needs to kind of toughen up. It's kind of clogged. His heart has been clogged up. It's furry. It's not. And then no time for romantic escape when your fluffy heart is ready for rape. No, because again, if the heart is fluffy in this imagery, he's vulnerable. It's distracting him. It's not good. He's not in a good place. So he has to shave his heart. He has to get rid of all that stuff. It's discarding. Again, it's symbolic. But he talks about romantic escape, and that again is linking metaphorically to the next song in the chain. And then he relates to us. You're sitting on your comfort. You don't believe I'm real. Again, is he a dream? You cannot buy protection from the way that I feel. Again, he's threatening you. Your progressive hypocrites hound out their trash. Now, this is a great line. He is talking about all those people in this realm. Now, again, nowadays, this has a different meaning. Progressive, if you're progressive, you're on the left, you're a do-gooder. But back then, he would have been talking about the people, his contemporaries, making the music. And I think this is Gabriel putting his flag in the sand. I think this is Gabriel talking. Your progressive hypocrites hand out their trash, but it was mine in the first place, so I burn it to ash. Right? He's saying this is ours. We're doing this. This is our thing. You can't have it, and he'll destroy it. And he's trying to destroy this idea of progressive music, or the progressive ideas that are here. But like again, it changes. It can mean many things now. But I like to think that it's actually Gabriel talking about all those people that are doing progressive music, and it's reached its end. He knows it's reached its end, and this album is meant to represent that this is the end. We're going to do something different, and you can see that in his own music. He puts it firmly behind him. Moribund the Burgermeister is the last progressive rock song that Gabriel does, in that fantasy kind of realm, and it's the first song on his solo album. But he's saying no, we're gonna burn it. I've tasted all the strongest meats, and he's talking about women here, and laid them down on coloured sheets. Who needs illusion of love and affection? Again, that relates to the strongest meats. When you're walking out in the streets with your mainline connection. Again, mainline connection. That could be talking about trains. It could be, but mainlining. That could be a drug reference. Again, there's an urgency to it. As I cuddled the porcupine, he said I had none to blame but me. It repeats it again. And again, so there's this idea that he's conflicted. There's the part of him that says, no, this is your fault. And then there's this, it's almost like the ego and the id at battle here. Where him saying, there's a part of him saying, no, this is your fault, mate. You need to own this. You need to grow. And that's what that's again. I think it's a very important song in the whole. It's the heart of the album. Then we have that lovely instrumental piece, Airless Heart, which leads into Counting Out Time. We have a little bit of humour because it's pretty heavy, that song. And Counting Out Time is just about getting laid. And now, with inexperience, it all goes wrong. So it's called Counting Out Time. I'm counting out time, getting the whole thing down by numbers. Because again, romance, sex, it's all done by numbers. It's like the Kama Sutra. Come and do the Kama Sutra with me. All those numbers, give me guidance. Oh Lord, I need that now. Again, he's pleading. And religious aspect is praying to the Lord for help. The Day of Judgment. Day of Judgment, again, another religious thing. The Day of Judgment is where, He who is without sin goes to heaven. And you bet I've been resting for this testing, digesting every word the experts say. So he's been reading up about the okey pokey. Erogenous zones, I love you. Without you, what would a poor boy do? Because that's what he's been researching. Again, erogenous zones, they're the parts of the body that gets you a bit frisky. If they're manipulated in a certain way, they are the key to carnal heaven. Found a girl I wanted to date, thought I'd better get it straight. Went to buy a book before it's too late. So he's reading up on this. He doesn't want to be a failure. He wants it to go just right. But we should really just be natural. Let things happen naturally. That's the lesson in this. Don't leave nothing to fate. I've studied every line, every page in the book. Now I've got the real feel here. I'm going to take a look. So he's going to get down to it. This is real, indeed. I'm counting out time, hoping it all goes like I planned it, because I understand it. Found the hotspots. Hotspots another name for erogenous zones. Figures 1 to 9. Still counting that time. Got my finger on the button. Clitoris. Don't say no. I love that one. Just lay there still, and I'll get you turned on just fine. The idea of the woman being the passive partner in sex. You know, again, it's almost throwing back to the lifeless packaging. She's just got to lay there and take it. Not very progressive. Erogenous zones. I love you. What would a poor boy? Without you, what would a poor boy do? And he does the countdown. Touch and go 1 to 6. Bit of trouble in zone number 7. Got to remember all my tricks. Again, it's not natural. He's really pent up, and it's mechanical. It's not real. You know, it's completely the worst way of going about it. There's heaven ahead in number 11. Getting crucial responses, dilation of the pupils, got to get hip. It's time to unzip. Whoopee! Move over, Casanova. Casanova is the name of the great lover who had many conquests in his time. He's comparing himself to that. Counting out time, reaction, none too happy. Please don't slap me again, because she's not getting anything out of this. It's mechanical. It's not. There's no passion in it. That's what he's lacking. He's looking at it purely from a literal sense. I'm a red-blooded male, and the book said I could not fail. It's like those dating experts, you know, isn't it? This is how you get a date, and then it all goes wrong. Treat them mean to keep them keen. I'm counting out time. Got unexpected distress from my mistress. It's just a lovely little couplet. I'll get my money back from the bookstore right away. Like it's as easy as that. You know, it's all the book's fault. Again, it's him not taking responsibility. It's the book what made me do it. Erogenous zones, I question you. Without you, what would a poor boy do? Without you, mankind, hangkind through the blues. Hangkind gets in a masturbation joke at the end there. Thank you, Peter. Again, you've got to remember that although these guys went to Charterhouse, they snigger at rude jokes. There's a lot of references to genitals and things. So these are not the serious progressive rock stars you think they are. And basically that last line is you wank through the blues, you know, when you're miserable. And that's the star song, really. And another important song is the Carpet Crawlers that comes next. And Raoul's gradually moving towards this realization every step forward on his journey, because it's a series of movements. He's moving from one situation to another, almost like one memory to another. You know, from the memories of his first encounter with a woman, we talk about this. This is a new area he finds. Lambs will under my naked feet. The wool is soft and warm, gives off some kind of heat. Again, that's a reference to the lamb, of course. A salamander scurries into flame to be destroyed. So it runs into the flames and is incinerated. Meanwhile, imaginary creatures are trapped in birth on celluloid. So there's a film playing of creatures repeatedly being born. Meanwhile, the fleas cling to the golden fleece. Again, reference to the lamb, golden fleece, Jason and the Argonauts. You know, it's a mythical reference. It's a thing that's unobtainable. There's a quest involved. This is a quest. Hoping they'll find peace. Would a flea even think about peace? I do not know. Each thought and gesture are caught in celluloid. Again, everything that he's ever is being presented to him. There's no hiding in my memory. There's no room to avoid. So yeah, his memories are being replayed to him. That's what I take from that line. And the last line, there's no room to avoid. Again, Gabriel's playing with language. Avoid, there's nothing. There's no room to avoid. Avoid, it's a play on words. He's joking with you, he's playing with you. The crawlers cover the floor on the red ochre corridor. Again, he sees people just crawling towards doors. It's like people going to Mecca. It's almost religious. They're in penance. You have an idea that they should be whipping themselves. For every sight of people, they've more. For my second sight of people, there were not more lifeblood than before. So, the first lot were the lifeless packaging. They were devoid of life. These are very much alive. They're moving in time to a heavy wooden door. So they're all moving at the same rhythm, at the same pace. Where the needle's eye is winking, closing on the paw. Needle's eye. Again, was it getting a camel through the eye of a needle? Then, what's the line? I think I should have all this written down. There is a saying, camel through the eye of a needle. It's a Bible verse. It is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. And that's a reference to that. Again, it's Gabriel's religious teachings from the New Testament, Luke 18:25, and that's what that's referencing to. Closing on the poor. Again, because rich man can't get through, but the poor can. So these are poor people. And the door, is it an entrance to heaven? We'll never know. And the carpet crawlers heed their callers. We've got to get in to get out. You've got to get in to get out. And that's, again, you've got to get through the door, you've got to get in the door to get out of the purgatory. It's like a purgatory that they're in. Constantly moving, constantly searching for a door to escape. Right? So it's a bit like Dante's Inferno and the circles of hell. And well, Dante also did purgatory as well. They're being held here before they can find the entrance to heaven. Important stuff. Important stuff, this is. And then there's only one direction. I love this. This bit's the best bit ever. Some of the greatest lyrics here. There's only one direction in the faces that I see. It's upward to the ceiling, where the chamber's said to be, where they're going to escape. And again, heaven is above, But it isn't. It ends up being the chamber of 32 doors, and there's more mystery. So they're looking for a door to get to the next stage. Again, doors within doors within doors. And I love this line. The forests fight for sunlight that takes root in every tree. That is just fucking perfect. I love that line. I wish I could have written that myself. They're pulled up by the magnet, believing that they're free. They're moving up to the next section where we'll find the chamber of 32 doors. The carpet crawlers heed their callers. And it's something that they say. They're all mumbling it. We've got to get in to get out. We've got to get in to get out. It's a mantra. It's something that they're all saying. Mild-mannered supermen are held in kryptonite. Again, Superman, his weakness is kryptonite. Mild-mannered Clark Kent. Yeah, mild-mannered Clark Kent is Superman and he's held in kryptonite. So he's completely impotent. He is no longer Superman. He is mild-mannered Superman. He's Clark Kent without his powers. And wise and foolish virgins giggle. Again, wise and foolish. You can't be two things at once. Again, it's like the virgin, again, to have knowledge. A virgin to have knowledge is not a virgin. They're wise and foolish. So these virgins are not virgins, if you know what I mean. They have knowledge in the biblical sense. Giggle with their bodies glowing bright. Again, it's just imagery. Through a door, a harvest feast is lit by candlelight. Again, religious imagery in September. We have the harvest festival. After, the farmers have grown all their crops, everything is laid out. Again, something that the boys in Genesis would have gone through a charter house. They'd have been part of the Harvest Festival. I was as a lad at school when we still had Christian values in schools, and that's not a comment. I'm an atheist, but I'm just saying that's how it was in our day. We used to sing hymns and do that kind of thing. It's the bottom of a staircase that spirals out of sight. So up is a spiral staircase leading up to the next section, the Chamber of 32 Doors. We've got to get in to get out. And they're all taking it in turns to climb up. The porcelain mannequin with shattered skin fears attack. Again, it's something very delicate that's already one step away from being smashed. Very delicate. The eager pack lift up their pitchers. So imagine they're carrying something very heavy. Again, it's imagine a pitcher of water or ale or something liquid. It's very heavy. They carry all they lack. So this thing that they carry is something they don't need, but they have to carry it. So again, it's like penance. They're being punished. And the liquid is congealed. So in it, it's thick and it's seeped out through the cracks. So these pitchers are cracked as well. So it's all messy and horrible. And then you have a lovely little line. The tickler takes his stickleback. A stickleback is a fish with 3 spines. I used to catch them as a lad when I go fishing. And who is the tickler? Who is the tickler? What a character, eh? And then a repeat of the line, carpet crawlers, see their crawlers, we've got to get in to get out. So there's a desperation to move on to the next section. And we enter the Chamber of 32 Doors. And again, there are 32 doors. Not sure what those numerical significance is. There probably is something. But it's a nice number, isn't it? It's divisible by 4, by 8, 16. Yes. One of those kind of numbers. At the top of the stairs, there's hundreds of people running around to all the doors. They find themselves an audience. Their deductions need applause. See, because they're trying to figure out the way out. An important line. The rich man stands in front of me, the poor man at my back. He's middle class. It wouldn't be Raoul. Raoul would not be in the middle. He would be at the back. This is Gabriel talking here. Right? Raoul would not be in the middle of those two because he is just the street urchin with an aerosol gun who tags things and burns things. He would be behind the poor man. He would be further down the line. But I think this is Gabriel talking. So it's an imagery of rich man, middle class, poor man. They believe they can control the game, but the juggler holds another pack. Again, the idea that even though we think we're in control of our lives, there are always forces unknown working against us. It never goes how you think it's going to go. And he says the line, I need someone to believe in, someone to trust. I need someone to believe in, someone to trust. And I do believe that is Gabriel singing that. I think this is him singing from his personal point in his life. You've got to remember what's going on. He's in a band that's he feels fragmented from. His wife is having a baby. And that's not going well. And I do believe that this is Gabriel talking here, not Raoul at all. But he pushes his experience into the song. And then we go, I'd rather trust a countryman than a town man. The idea of the honesty of the country versus the duplicitousness of somebody who lives an urban life. You can judge by his eyes, take a look if you can. He'll smile through his guard. Survival trains hard. Again, the idea that you have to, to be in the country, you have to survive. It's similar. Again, I don't necessarily agree with this. Thinking that again, if you live in the urban sprawl, you have to have a different set of standards. It's an idealised view of the countryside, that things are easier, that you can trust people there, that you can't trust the town man. Again, it's a generalisation. I don't know how true this is. Again, this is who is speaking this. I'd rather trust a man who works with his hands. He looks at you once, he understands. Again, the honest sons of the soil, that idea. And this is coming from a middle class fella, This is coming from somebody who is fed up with all these people. His fellow class, who he can't trust. And he'd rather be with the simple folk. This isn't Raoul talking, I don't believe. Don't need any shield when you're out in the field. Of course you don't, because you're on your own. But down here, I'm so alone with my fear, with nothing, with everything that I hear, and every single door I walk through brings me back here again. And so it's an endless cycle. He's lost. He can't find his way out. There is no door to heaven. Heaven doesn't exist. That's what you draw from this. So the priest and the magician singing all the chants that they've ever heard. Again, even they think that they can find a way out. And priest and magician, he's conflating those who believe in religion with those who perform tricks that aren't real. Right? It's a very important image, that. He's poo-pooing the idea of organised religion in that one line. He's putting the magician and the priests on the same level. Single chants they've ever heard. They're calling out my name, even academics searching printed words. So everybody is trying to find the way out. Again, the priest and the magician are appealing to Rael or to Gabriel. Say, join our side, join our quest to find heaven. And he's like, no. And then my father to the left of me, my mother to the right. See, they're with him. Everyone, like everyone else, they're pointing, but nowhere feels quite right. It's that thing of even though people are giving you advice, you're not sure. And then I need someone to believe, I need someone to trust. Repeated. I'd rather trust a man who doesn't shout what he's found. There's no need to sell if you're homeward bound. Again, shout what you found. So, I mean, again, he's talking about more like the secretive person. So if you find a tenner on the floor, you just put it in your pocket. You don't go, hey, look, everyone, I've got a tenner. Again, people who are a bit more showy as opposed to somebody who's a bit more centred. No need to sell if you're homeward bound. If I choose a ride, I hope you won't take me for a ride. Again, it's that thing of being betrayed. He doesn't want to be betrayed. Back inside, the chamber of so many doors, I've nowhere to hide. I'll give you all my dreams if you help me find a door that's lead me back again, take me away. And so it's an impossible quest. There is no heaven. It's all a lie. It's all a myth. You know? And that brings us on to our next section. We have a song called Lily White Lilith. The chamber was in confusion, all the voices shouting loud. I could hear a voice quite clear, please help me through the crowd. So again, he acts charitably for this old, blind woman. Again, Lilith in Russian, I think it's in Russian mythology, is a witch, I believe. Oh, actually, it's in Jewish religion, but there's also a Lilith in Russian. Yeah, from Jewish folklore. But there's also a Lilith in Russian mythology too, I think. Or maybe I've got it confused. Look it up yourself and tell me how I'm wrong in the comment section below. Engagement. She's gonna said if I helped her through, she'd help me too. But I could tell she was wholly blind. But from her pale face and her pale skin, the moonlight shined. Lilith, she's going to take you through the tunnel of night. Lilith, she's going to lead you right. So she's the only one who can find a way out because she's blind. She can't see anything. Again, the idea that those who cannot see have other powers. Again, it's a common trope in mysticism. Again, we've dealt with blind people before. Tiresias, the blind seer, mentioned in the cinema show. He was wise because he was blind. You know, on his walks, hits the snake with his stick, is turned into a woman, spends many years as a woman, comes across the snake again, hits it with his stick, turns back into a man again. He experiences both male and female life, but his blindness also feeds into that, and it's Lily White Lilith. She's blind. And so it's that kind of trope. When I'd led her through the people, the angry noise began to grow. She said, let me feel the way the breezes blow and I'll show you where to go again. She can do it by, it's like Tommy, you know, the Who song. She has extrasensory perception almost. So I followed her to a big round cave. She said, they're coming for you, now don't be afraid. Then we sat me down on a cold stone throne carved in jade. Again, that's purely for imagery. Lily White Lilith, it does the chorus again. She leaves me in the darkness, I have to face my fear. And as the darkness closes on me, I hear a whirring sound growing near. I can see the corner of the tunnel lit up by whatever's coming near. Two golden globes float into the room, and a blaze of white light fills the air. Again, in the story, Rao experiences these devices that explode in front of him. And what happens next? He dies. You know, there are many deaths in this. There are many deaths and rebirths. And that leads us into the song anyway. All the pumping's nearly over for my sweetheart. He's not talking about sweetheart as in his betrothed, his love. He's talking about his heart. This is the one for me. Time to meet the chef. The chef is, again, he's talking about death because it rhymes. He's just looking for a rhyme. Oh boy, the running man is out of death. Feel cold and old. It's getting hard to catch my breath. Again, these rhymes are important, and so sometimes it doesn't always work, but it gets us there. It's back to ash now. You've had your flash, boy. So again, you know, it's that cycle. When you die, you get cremated, back to ash, compressed. Yeah, the rocks in time crush your blood to oil, your flesh to coal, enrich the soil. Not everybody's goal. And again, that's how we got here, isn't it? That's what happened to the dinosaurs. Anyway, they say she comes on a pale horse, but I'm sure I hear a train. Again, pale horse, death comes on a pale horse, I think is the saying. Death. Isn't that yeah, this is the Revelation of St. John the Divine, which is a painting. And it references the Bible's Revelation of St. John the Divine, where the fourth horseman of the apocalypse is on a pale horse ridden by death. But he visualizes death as female, which is interesting. And so, again, this is that Christian Bible learning that Gabriel's got there. He says, I'm sure I hear a train. Because he's used to the subway, you see. He's underground, all right. He's still in the subway. This is the myth. You see, Rao is experiencing, if it is Rao, if it isn't just a dream, the person sleep, or if you go back to the person sleeping in the cinema, you know, maybe you can hear the subway under his feet, and it's in his dreams. You know, this can work on many different levels. You know, it's up to you to decide which level you want to pick. Oh boy, I don't even feel no pain. It could be that it just rhymes with pain. I guess I must be driving myself insane. Again, back to Pontiac and the straitjacket. Madness. Madness is a theme. Damn it, does earth plug a hole in heaven? And again, I love this line. Or heaven plug a hole in earth. I just love that line. And I don't know why. I've always loved that line. You know, which one is connected to which? Is heaven the thing? And earth is the little thing? You know, imagine a bottle, and the bottle is heaven, and earth is the stopper, or is it the other way around? Earth is the bottle, and heaven's the stopper. You know, what's the aim? Is heaven you know, which way round is it? Chicken or egg? Which came first? I like that. How wonderful to be so profound when everything you are is dying underground. Again, he's buried in rocks because there's an explosion. Boom. The white orbs explode and the cave falls in on him, and he's trapped under rocks. And that's illustrated on the stage show. Gabriel sings under a cardboard cutout of some rocks, if I remember. I feel the pull on the rope. Let me off at the rainbow. And then he starts talking about different methods of death he could have experienced. I could have been exploding in space, different orbits for my bones. Not me, just quietly buried in stones. Keep the deadline open with my maker. So again, he's got a deadline. You know, it's like, I ain't finished yet. Keep that deadline open. I'm not done. I'm not done yet. See me stretch for God's elastic acre. Again, the idea that heaven is infinite. See me stretch. I've done that. Oops, God's elastic. The doorbell rings. Bing bong. So reality intrudes into this dream. And it's good morning, Rao. So sorry you had to wait. It won't be long, yeah. she's very rarely late. So reality crashes in, but death is still coming for him. And you have the supernatural anaesthetist line, which is, again, it's another little, it's more instrumental. It's a funny little song. It's only 4 lines. Here comes the supernatural anaesthetist. If he wants you to snuff it, all he has to do is puff it. He's such a fine dancer. Now, it shifts from death being a woman to being a fella, which is odd, you know, because it says she comes on the pale horse, she's very rarely late, and then it switches. So I'm not sure why that is. It's very, very odd. So Raoul finds himself escaped by whatever means. He's no longer buried under rocks, and then he finds himself into a very ornate chamber where he encounters the next song, the Lamia. And again, the Lamia is from Greek mythology, and it's kind of a half serpent, half woman, and this is what we're going to see. Well, here is so we have a lot of Christian imagery and a lot of Greek mythology. And we've done that in the past with Fountain of Salmacis, you know. There's that imagery is used in Supper's Ready too, with Narcissus. They love bringing in the classic Greek mythology into these songs and slap some Christianity onto it too. This is where they're at. So the scent grows richer. He knows he must be near. He finds a long passageway lit by chandelier. Each step he takes, the perfumes change from familiar fragrance to flavours strange, and in a magnificent chamber meets his eye. It sets the scene, right? So it's a very ornate area. Inside, a long rose waterpool is shrouded by fine mist. Stepping into my silence with a warm breeze, he's gently kissed. He thinks he's safe. This is all about him lowering his defences. Again, he's been trapped. He's been crushed, and so he's relaxing. Thinking he's quite alone, he enters the room as if it were his own, but ripples on the sweet pink water reveal some company unthought of. Raoul stands astonished, doubting his sight, struck by beauty gripped in fright. 3 vermilion snakes of female face. So these are more snake than women, these ones. And vermilion is red. They're like red colour. The smallest motion filled with grace. Muted melodies fill the echoing hall. So there's music playing, but there's no sign of warning in the siren's call. So these are the sirens. Maybe these are the sirens that are echoed in the very first song. You know, sirens on the rooftop wailing. Maybe this is them. Maybe that was a portent of things to come. Raoul, welcome. We are the Lamia of the pool. We've been waiting for our waters to bring you cool. So he thinks, I'm in here. Again, counting out time. These lusty snake women, that's all right. Snake women will be fine. Putting fear beside him, he trusts in beauty blind. Again, that idea of never trust a book by its cover, you know. He slips into nectar, leaving his shredded clothes behind. So he's completely naked. With their tongues, they test, taste, and judge all that is mine. This is him saying that. We hear Raoul's voice. They move in a series of caresses that glide up and down my spine. So it's pretty intimate. This is intimate. As they nibble the fruit of my flesh, I feel no pain. So they're actually eating him. Only a magic that a name would stain. With the first drop of blood in their veins, their face are convulsed in mortal pains. The fairest cries, we have loved you, Raoul. So they eat of his flesh, and they take of his blood. Classic Christian imagery there, with the wafer and the wine. Blood and flesh. again, projecting that Christianity on it. Again, each snake-like body floats, empty snake-like body floats, silent sorrow in empty boats. Again, because they die. They are both fulfilled and they're kind of poisoned. But it could be that that's just their process, their mating process, because, they die and maybe something comes out of them. They evolve again. It's not real. It's mythology. A sickly soundness fills the room, a bit harvest of a dying bloom. Looking for motion I know I will not find. I stroke the curls, now turning pale, and which I laid inclined. So they're curls of their body, because they've curled around him. Oh, Lamia, your flesh that remains I'll take as my food. So then he digests them. So we've got some real weird cannibalism shit going on here. And he says, it's the scent of garlic that lingers on my chocolate fingers. Chocolate fingers are a brand where you may have chocolate fingers where you live. They're a biscuit covered in chocolate. But if his fingers are chocolate covered, I wonder where he's been putting them. Sorry, that image has always bothered me. Looking behind me, the waters turn icy blue, the lights are dimmed, and once again the stage is set for you. Now, again, he talks about himself behind me, the water turns icy blue, but then he says the stage is set for you, for us, the viewer. So he's saying he's saying it's very much like a play. And then we enter, there's an instrumental part, and we enter the colony of slippermen. And then this is an allusion, a lot of this is an allusion now to sexual disease, because he's obviously had sex with these creatures, and they've feasted of him, and he's now infected. And this is what the Slipperman song is all about. I wandered lonely as a cloud. Again, that's Wordsworth, isn't it? William Wordsworth. I wandered lonely as a cloud, originally published in 1807. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats over vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd of a host of golden daffodils. That's the original, but Gabriel lifts that line. Till I came across this dirty street, when I've never seen a stranger crowd, a slabberdy-gullions on squeaky feet. A slabberdy-gullion is a word, and it relates to a filthy, slobbering person. Sometimes they're alcoholic and they're drunk. They're basically the people in society you don't want to be around. That's what a slabber. Again, it's a great old antiquity word from antiquity. Slabberdy gullions on squeaky feet. People have squeaky feet, squeaky shoes. If your shoes squeak, it means you haven't bought them. That's the old wives' tale. So if you bought a pair of shoes and they squeak, they're either cheap or you haven't bought them. So I like to think that that's what that's alluding to, but it isn't. It's alluding to them being horrifically distorted and disabled by what's happened to them at the hands of the Lamia. Continually pacing with nonchalant embracing, each orifice disgracing, while face me moves to say hello. Again, their mouths are so distorted they can't even say hello properly. Right? His skin's all covered in slimy lumps, with lips that slide across each chin. This guy has been completely mutated, with twisted limbs like rubber stumps. I waved him welcome, say please join in. My grip must be flipping, because his handshake keeps slipping. My hopes keep on dipping, and his lips keep on smiling all the time. Again, Slippermen, they're all right. They don't mind. They're used to their condition. And the Slipperman then talks to Raoul and says, we, like you, have tasted love. See, they've met the Lamia. Don't be alarmed at what you see. You yourself are just the same as what you see in me. Raoul doesn't realise that he, too, is infected with whatever malady, illness, disease that they've caught from the Lamia. And he said, me, like you, like that. And he can't believe it. He can't believe that the same fate has happened to him. And then the Slipperman tells him, you better watch it, son. Your sentence only just begun. You better run and join your brother John. So John has also fallen foul of the Lamia. That character is brought in. So again, John is on the same journey as Raoul. Maybe that's why he couldn't speak to him. Maybe he's not allowed to speak to him. Maybe you all take this journey on your own. You know. Then we visit the Doctor, and it's Doctor spelt with a K rather than a C. It feels kind of Germanic. And when Dr. Diaper speaks, he speaks in a German accent, which I find curious. Again, back in those days, the Germans were still were reviled after World War II. You know, that's why that was probably chosen. You shouldn't necessarily trust the Doctor. You're in the colony of slipper men. There's no who, why, what, or when. You'll get out if you've got the gripe to see Dr. Diaper, reformed sniper. So he was in the war. He was in World War II. Reformed sniper. He'll whip off your windscreen wiper. Windscreen wiper is a euphemism for little rail, or the penis. Rail says, John and I are able to face the Doctor on his marble table. So he's got an operating table that's made of marble. That's nice. And he says, don't delay, dock the dick. Cut it off. Dock, as in to cut, remove the dick. Or you can say Dr. Dick. Again, it's one of those lovely alliterative kind of rhyming type of things. I watch his countdown timer tick. And then we move on to the next section called the Raven. He places the number into a tube. It's a number 1. He could have said member, but he says number for some reason. A yellow plastic Shooby-Doo. What can you rhyme with tube? That's the problem. So he says Shooby-Doo, right? Why not? It says, though your fingers may tickle, you'll be safe in our pickle. It's inscribed with that on the tube. Okay. So obviously it's the penis is in some sort of formaldehyde, some sort of preservative, of course. Suddenly a black cloud comes down from the sky. It's a supersized blackbird that sure can fly. Now, it's not a blackbird, it's a raven, but he says blackbird, not blackbird, blackbird. The raven brings on darkness and night. That's how big its wingspan is. It can block out the sun. He flies right down and gives me one hell of a fright. Takes a tube right out of my hand, steals the tube. Man, I've got to find where that blackbird lands. So now they're on a new quest. Before it was a quest to find heaven. Now it's a quest to find his penis. For without his penis, he cannot find heaven. Look here, John, I've got to run. I need you now, you're going to come. He says to me, now can't you see, when the raven flies, there's jeopardy. We've been cured on the couch. Now you're sick with your grouch. I'll not risk my honey pouch, which my slouch will wear slung very low. So he's saying, he's stolen yours. He hasn't stolen, I've got mine. I'm fine. Off you go. Again, John is letting him down. Instead of saying, I'll be with you, I'll be by your side, he's saying, no, I'm not going to help you. You're on your own, kid. I've got my penis. He walks away and leaves me once again. Even though I never learn, I'd hope he showed us some concern. Again, the feeling of isolation, alienation is reinforced by John's denial. He's no, I'm not helping. I'm in the agony of slipper pain. Well, you would be. You've just been castrated. I pray my undercarriage will sustain. Again, you've been castrated. The chase is on, the pace is hot, but I'm running so very hard with everything I've got. He leads me down an underpass. Though it narrows, he still flies very fast, so it goes underground. When the tunnel stops, I catch sight of the tube just as it drops. I'm on the top of a bank, too steep to climb. I see it hit the water just in time to watch it float away. So he sees his penis in a tube be washed away down a river. And that leads us, move on to Lies Down on Broadway. Again, this, we have the lamb lies down on Broadway. This is the light dies down on Broadway. Darkness, the nighttime, is not only does it signify the end of the journey or that time's running out, but it signifies a return to that initial state that we moved from at the beginning of the song, making it a cyclical experience of like day to night and back again. So that's what that means. It also kind of musically repeats thematically from that first song. So it ties up quite nicely. But it doesn't come at the end of the album. It comes as a kind of like a false ending. You think this should be the ending of the album, but it's like one of those, I don't know, Marvel movies or whatever, that you think it's ended and then I don't know, the villain comes back. It's like that. As he walks along the gorge's edge, he meets a sense of yesteryear. Starts feeling nostalgic. A window in the bank above his head reveals his home amidst the streets. There's a way out. He sees a way out. Subway sounds, the sounds of complaint, the smell of acid on his gun of paint. As it calms their anger in a blood-red band, destroyed tomorrow by an unknown hand. So yeah, he can almost see himself spraying the red paint again. That paint of anger. Because again, his actions are motivated by anger and isolation, alienation. You can see the past above him. He can see his old life. And he says, "My home." He exclaims, "My home." Is this the way out from this endless scene, or just an entrance to another dream again? Because everything he's experienced along the way has just led him down further pathways. Is this real? Or is he being lied to again? Is this just another illusion? And the light dies down on Broadway. You can see it getting dark. But as the skylight beckons him to leave, he hears a scream from far below. And within the raging water rises the form of Brother John. He cries for help. Now there's a reversal. In the past, it was Raoul who needs help and John was in denial. Now the tables are flipped and John is in trouble. It's a test. It's testing. This is the culmination of the Pilgrim's Progress. Has he learnt a lesson? Even though John denies him and shuts him down, will Raoul rise to the test and prove that he's grown up? He's now an adult. He's somebody who's responsible. This is the journey. The gate is fading now, but open wide. But John is drowning. I must decide. So it's from Raoul's perspective. Between the freedom I had in the rat race, or to stay forever in this forsaken place. Hey, John. He makes his decision in a split moment. You've got the rat race, or here, in hell. He's in hell, purgatory. He makes for the river, and the gate is gone. So that's it. Back to the void where it came from, and the light dies down on Broadway. So again, there's two meanings there. Not only is it getting dark in that, but it also it's over. You're not going back, son. It's over. And then we have the Riding the Scree song, which is just him describing going down, struggling down the slope. There's not much hope. I begin to try and ride the scree. Now it's a very steep bank, and scree is very loose gravel, like pebbles. Very hard and abrasive, can almost cut you up. And he's just skating down it at speed. He's like on his arse. I imagine him just skating down the scree. But the rocks are tumbling all around me. If I want John alive, I've got to ditch my fear, take a dive, while I've still got my drive to survive. Lovely bit of rhyming there. Evel Knievel, you've got nothing on me. Now again, if you're a kid of a certain age, if you lived through the 70s, Evel Knievel, everyone wanted to be him. He was a stunt driver, formerly known as Robert Craig Knievel. He jumped over everything. Didn't he? He also broke every bone in his body. But yeah, and that's what that's referring to. He's going to be doing an amazing stunt as he jumps into the water. Then we move into the song in the rapids, moving down the water. Johnny's drifting out of sight. It's only at the turning point that you find out how to fight. Again, he's changing. He's realizing that there are other values than just being selfish. Again, the old Raoul is gone. Again, it's another rebirth we're seeing here. In the cold, feel the cold all around, and the rush of crashing water surrounds me with its sound. Again, it's terrifying. Striking out to reach you, I can't get through to the other side. When you're racing the rapids, there's only one way that's to ride. Again, he has no control over what's happening to him. He's submitted himself to the random. This is somebody who thought he could fight the system. Here he is. He's in nature, being washed away, taken down by the undertow, and spiraled down the riverbed. My fire is burning low. It looks kind of hopeless. Looks hopeless for him. But then He catches hold of a rock that's firm. I'm waiting for John to be carried past. We hold together and shoot the rapids fast. So he manages to grab hold of his brother. And when the waters slow down, the dark and deep, I've no one left to keep. Hang on, John, we're out of this at last. Something's changed. That's not your face. It's mine. Again, he gets him on the bank, rolls him over, and sees that it's his own face. He saved himself. That's the story. He saved himself. By sacrificing himself, he saved himself. It's the story of Jesus. Puerto Rican Jesus. Again, somebody who acted selflessly, ends up being sacrificed, comes back to life. It's a very Christian story. And so, yeah, it's a resurrection of sorts. He's himself, And it's also, again, it's about the ego and the id. There's a psychological framework with which to look at this. He's finally put away all those selfish actions. There are many ways you can look at it. You can look at it from a Christian perspective, but also from a psychological perspective too. And then we finish with it, which is just a great big celebration. It's a lovely way of bowing out. I think as Gabriel knew this was the end, it was on the cards. He thought, you know what, we're going to go on a nice big celebratory song. And it is just daft and wonderful. When it's cold, it comes slow. It's true. And when it's warm, just watch it grow. He's talking about his penis again. All around me. It is here, it is now. Just a bit of it can bring you up or down. Like supper, it's cooking in your hometown. It's chicken, it's eggs. It's in between your legs. Told you, it's his penis. He's walking on the moon, leaving your cocoon, referring to the cocoon further back in the song. It is a jigsaw, it is purple haze, reference to Jimi Hendrix. It never stays in one place, but it's not a passing phase. It's in the singles bar, in the distance of a face. Again, it's about getting it on. It's in between the cages, reference to in the cage. It is always in a space, it is here, it is now. Any rock can be made to roll if you've enough of it to pay the toll. Again, rock and roll, baby. There's no home in words or goal, not even in your favourite hole. Favourite hole? Yeah, vagina. It is hope for the dope. When you ride a horse without a hoof, it's shaken, not stirred, cocktails on the roof. See, also it's everywhere. When you eat right through it, again, through it is spelled Fruit. So it's fruit. When you eat right fruit, you see everything alive. It is inside the spirit with enough grit to survive. If you think it's pretentious, you've been taken for a ride. Again, it's about progressive rock, isn't it? Look across the mirror before you choose to decide. It is here, it's now, it's here, it's now, it's real, it's real. It's only knock and know-all, but I like it. Around the same time, the Stones had a song, it's only rock and roll, but I like it, yes I do. Again, it's a reference to that, but you couldn't, because he wanted to sing It's Only Rock and Roll. And I think he does sing it sometimes. If you hear it live, he does say it's only rock and roll, but he's saying it's only knock and know all. But I like it. Again, he's being playful. Being a know-all is to be someone who's clever, who's arrogant, knows too much. And we knock the know-alls, don't we? So, that's it. That's the album. But of course, you can interpret it any way you want. This is just my interpretation and some of the things I think it's about. But yeah, it's all about a very obscure way of growing. It's about growing up. It's about ditching self-destructive traits. It's about taking ownership of yourself and responsibility. And that's it. And there's like I said, Christian and Greek mythology framework, modern culture squeezed into it, and it's utterly bizarre for a group of upper middle class lads from England. Crikey, even Hackett and Collins. I think Hackett was probably the closer to working class than. Even Collins was middle class because of his stage school background, but It's just unusual to have a band write about someone, an album about America, kind of. Is it? I don't know. But it's a very strange record, and I think it's intoxicating. I love it. I really do, because it is so bonkers. It's so out there, but it also works as well. I think it's very cinematic, and I think it tells a. I think it tells a good story. You know, it's intrigued me for years. It's always intrigued me, and there's always new things to it. And that's it. Hopefully it's been useful. If it hasn't, well, I'm sorry I've wasted your time. I think only about 300 people are going to watch it, but that's fine. If you've got anything from this, if you've got any new understanding of it, or it's made you think, oh, he's wrong, I've got my own meaning, that's equally valid too. It's all about whatever you think, not about what I think. This is just a very long video about nothing in particular. Remember, it's only knock and roll, but I like it. And that's it. Prog on.